What up, what up? It's your boy Vinnie-Dangerous. I'm back with the 11th episode of the Dangerous Minds podcast. Before I go any further, I'd like to give a big shout out to Mir I Am and the Real DJ R&B for putting together the real dope mixer that I performed at this past Friday. It was a dope event. I really appreciate everybody that came out and showed love. Tesh, Shane, Jazz Natasha, and myself all performed. All three of them did great. I know not to toot my own horn, but I feel like I did pretty dope as well. So I like to give a big shout out to them. Catch them on K97.5, excuse me, and DJ R&B. He's all over the place. Here I am. I hope to see more stuff from you in the future. So I like to give a real big shout out to them for giving me that opportunity. Also, I'd like to shout out that a couple days ago on Friday, I created the new Dangerous Minds podcast Instagram page. So if you support the show, I would just love you to get on IG and follow at Dangerous Minds podcast, all one word, on IG. I'll be doing a lot of things, more than just posting the flyer for the cover for the podcast episode coming up in the future or the one from previous times. I'll be doing a lot of discussion posts, a lot more interaction, get people's opinion on this topic, that topic, the episode. If you want to leave comments and stuff like that and let me know how you felt about it, whether you agree with me or you don't, I would just really appreciate everybody joining in on the conversation. Like I said, this is the Dangerous Minds podcast, and one of the great things about the podcast is that I just love people to be able to speak their mind and tell me how they feel, whether you like my opinion, whether you hate my opinion, whether you hate me for it or you love me for it. I just want to know. So, like I said, follow me on IG. I would love to interact with everybody that's a fan of the show. So, with that out the way, let's move on with the episode 11. And like I said, this is a free space for free thinking. One of the reasons why I'm called Vinnie-Dangerous, or where the name came from, was because I'm dangerous because I speak my mind and I stand my ground on what I believe, and that is dangerous to a lot of people. A lot of people do not understand that, your mind is just as powerful as anything. And your mind combined with your voice could be the most powerful thing in the world, and your heart. I'm not going to leave that out. But because of that, like I said, sometimes when you say something, people are going to hate you for it. Sometimes they're going to love you for it. It's going to be a difference in opinion. And that's what today's episode is about. Is that people don't really respect the difference in opinions that people have. And, first, also, I would love to shout out the young lady that will remain nameless. Because like I said, one of the things I wanted to do with the podcast was spark a conversation with people. And one particular girl, me and her had an exchange of words where she was really upset at last week's episode because I was supporting, she said I was supporting Nate Parker, which I am. Whenever the movie comes out, A Birth of a Nation, I will be going to go see it. I've seen all of the movies that he's put out in theaters, except for The Great Debaters. Every other movie, Red Tails. Well, I'm not gonna say every movie because I'm not really that familiar with his catalog. I just, the movies that really stick out: Red Tails, Beyond the Lights, Great Debaters. That's the only one I haven't seen in theaters. Like, I've been to the theater to see that because I support what he does. But as far as like what he was doing, what he's being accused of doing, I'm not necessarily supporting it. I'm saying give it some thought before you form an opinion. and she accused me of supporting a rapist, and the same old stuff. And I'm thinking, you probably didn't listen to the episode at all. But like I said, I support the man, and that is my opinion. That is what I choose to do with the information that I was presented with, and I formed an opinion. And people do it all the time. That's one of the most beautiful things and one of the most discouraging things about human beings is that we all have opinions, whether it's right or it's wrong. We have an election going on right now where people are either choosing to vote for Donald Trump or they're choosing to vote for Hillary Clinton. I am voting for the latter just because the former is the walking embodiment of Satan, and the people that support him are pretty much just supporting the Antichrist. That's my opinion, though. And whether I like it or not, the people that support Donald Trump, or the people that, other than the fact that she's the only other choice, support Hillary Clinton, that's their opinions off of the information that they were presented. And as people, that's what we do. We process information, then we form our own conclusion. But the problem is, there is a certain level of respect that should be given to people when they have an opinion, whether you like it or not, whether you feel like they truly understand what's going on or not. Everybody has an opinion. Opinions like assholes, everybody's got one. And I feel like on some degree there's some level of respect that should be between two people that are arguing over whether their opinion is right or there's wrong. And I have my own opinions on this Young Thug situation. That's what this episode has been inspired by, because for people that don't know, this past week, Young Thug drops his new album, mixtape. I'm not really entirely sure. He drops No, My Name is Jeffery. And there's really not been that much talk. I'm not even going to say that. It's not been a lot of talk about this album, other than, the artist possibly changing his name, which I thought was weird. But this project's been kind of quiet. And, it's kind of odd for a Young Thug project, because you hear that everywhere. The Slime Season mixtapes, the Barter 6, I'm Up. I used to hear it everywhere. And I'm not really that big of a Young Thug fan. Like, there's a couple songs here and there that I be digging sometimes, not even gonna lie. But for the most part, I don't really, rock with his music or rock with him as an artist that much. But even me, not being that much of a fan, will still hear a lot about this guy. But this one was quiet, real crickets about it. Other than when this cover dropped, which I'm about to get into, I really didn't hear too much. I didn't, hear a single. I might have heard the single, not really realizing that it was on the project. He's dropped a bunch of projects this year alone that, it might have been off one of them that I didn't hear. But I didn't really know about a single. Didn't really hear too much conversation about it, like I said, other than, him possibly changing his name. Then the cover dropped, and everybody lost their collective minds. Man. Everybody has had their own opinions on this mixtape cover or album cover, and some people support it. Basically, it's him wearing a top to bottom, full body Victorian style dress with this Raven from Mortal Kombat type of hat. That's the only reason why I support. I don't really know the proper name of the hat, but I know that a lot of memes have been going around of Young Thug in Mortal Kombat, and they've been comparing him to that because of the hat. So that's the only reason why I made that comparison. But so a lot of people have been really divided. Now let me give you a quick background of me real quick. So I have this motto that I've had since about my sophomore year in college. It's live and let live, love and let love. Before coming to college, I really wasn't too familiar with gay people. My mom has a friend that is a lesbian, and they're real close. I think it's like one of her best friends. That was my only real introduction to gay people. And because she was a lesbian, but you really don't see that unless they're the ones that dress up like guys and stuff like that. The masculine lesbians. Other than that, it really don't. You really don't see a difference, right? And my mom's always been one of the biggest advocates. It was like, hey, unless this person is doing stuff like, to hurt other people like Hitler or Donald Trump or, Kim, you know what? I'm not even going to fuck that name up because I don't really want no beef with Korea. But, the leader in Korea right now. Unless you're into that point where you're like really harming people and shit like that, just let people live. Let people do what they want to do and live their life. But, because of kids at school, my brothers, kids in the neighborhood, gay equaled bad. So when, real feminine men or boys used to come around, we didn't make fun of them. I just kind of avoided them. But it wasn't until I got to college. It's not like I had negative thoughts of them or like hated them or anything like that. It was just like, I was afraid of people seeing me hanging out with another gay guy and insinuating that I might be gay or something like that. That was just, my personal fear at the time because I didn't know no better. So, fast forward, when, I get to college, I actually, start meeting other gay men and having conversations with them, and I realized at that point that, we're not so different. And I have friends, I have associates that I still, talk to all the time, and, I can hang out with them in public and stuff like that. It's not like how I was in high school. Like, I have accepted that. And, and I'm really, that's when the motto kind of really stuck with me. It was my mom's lesson and turned into something that I just incorporated into my own life. Is live and let live, love and let love. If you're happy being with whoever you want, doing whatever you want to do, you should be free to do that. And I wholeheartedly support that. But I am not a fan of men wearing dresses. I'm not a fan of men wearing makeup and high heels and panties, and I'm not a fan of those guys on YouTube and Vine and Facebook that are putting on wigs and lipstick and have full beards sometimes too. I'm just not a fan of that, of those guys, doing that comedy and parody of women and, people finding it so funny. I just never understood it. I don't really care. I'm not a fan. But I am not, I'm not against those people to the point where I go and protest, kick people out because they're wearing a dress or, nothing crazy like that. It's just like, it's just not something that I personally want to see. But that's my opinion, and does that make me a bad person? I'm not a fan of it. But at the same time, I'm not gonna cause you bodily harm. I'm not gonna avoid you. If you come to my job and you need, service or something like that, I'm gonna treat you with the same level of respect that I give anybody else. If you come to one of my shows and you want to, show support and have a conversation, I'm going to give you the same level of respect that I'm going to give anybody else. And I think that's what it really comes down to. It's like, hey, I may not like that you're wearing a dress, or I may not be, that into it, but at the end of the day, I still give you a level of respect that I would give anybody else. Because as humans, that's what we should really be concerned with. It's just making sure that everybody is respected the same way, and that everybody is able to live their life without, fear of any harm or any discriminatory actions that can be taken, towards them. You should be able to live your life, trust me, regardless of what people do in the street. They act, protest, and they, do everything they can to try to make it seem as normal as possible. There are going to be people in this world that are not going to fuck with it. And that's cool. There are some people that are secretly like this, guys, there's some guys that don't like certain hairstyle on women. It took me a long time before I really got into the, women having short haircuts, because it was kind of like a stereotypical norm. Like, I knew women that have long hair. And then, growing up, my mother has lupus. She would keep her hair short. And at that point, I realized, hey, it's not that big of a deal, because I've seen my mama with short hair, and I see my mama with long hair, and she's still my mama, and she's still beautiful to me. So really, then after a while, I was like, okay, that isn't that big of a deal. But there's going to be guys that think that way. And as long as you're not discriminatory, you're not making fun of women, you're not calling them bald-headed because they have short hair, stuff like that, somebody having a preference, is that really bad? Well, apparently to Weirdo Twitter it is. So the people I call Weirdo Twitter are the people that they support things that are considered weird so much to the point where things that are considered normal are weird to them. And it's kind of, it makes me feel some type of way, because you say that you want people to accept you or anybody else for the lifestyle choices and decisions that they make for themselves, but then turn around and say that if somebody has an opposing opinion, that they are wrong and then something is wrong with them. Like, one girl was, okay, let me put it like this. There was this guy who posted a screenshot of an Instagram post, and on the post it had Jada Smith wearing a skirt. And, the caption was, as a guy, would you wear this for $5 million? And there was guys commenting, saying a little funny stuff like, I don't know, man. Maybe if you put $50 million on it, I might, just saying shit like that. And the person who screenshotted it and posted it on Twitter was like, wow, guys are so masculine and they're so macho that they have to be paid $50 million just to even think about wearing a dress. And in my mind, I was like, well, actually, I commented back and I said, well, maybe they just don't want to wear a fucking dress. Maybe there's, maybe some men don't want to wear no fucking dress. And that's the part that irked my nerves. It's like, something's wrong with me because I don't want to wear a dress. I don't give a fuck if you pay me Bill Gates' entire estate, his bank account. I don't want to wear a fucking dress. That's just my opinion. That's just my choice. I don't want to wear a fucking dress. Why is there something wrong with me? Why is there something wrong with me that I'm not that big of a fan of men wearing dresses? I'm not a big fan of it. But there's something wrong with me because I am not a fan, as long as I don't disrespect, as long as I'm not out in the street disrespecting people with different lifestyle choices of mine. There's something wrong with me. There's going to be a difference in opinion. And you can't tell me that, gender, because that's what they call it, gender biases, right? Me growing up, men didn't wear dresses. That's just me. I don't know how I'd feel if I had a little boy and he'd wear a dress. But at the same time, him wearing a dress would not translate into me not loving him, me not, letting him express himself the way he wants. We just gonna have a conversation, and I'm gonna be like, this is what you really want to do. Just help me understand. And instead of helping people understand, you're ready to bash somebody with a different opinion than yours. And I don't think that's right. actually, if there's anything I don't like, I mean, besides maybe kind of like, below racist and, you know, sexist and shit like that, I don't like people that are so liberal in theory, but then turn around and have a problem with other people's lifestyles and stuff like that. They have a problem with somebody having a difference in opinion than they do, and that makes them wrong. That's the same thing as somebody saying that you're wrong and something is wrong with you for being gay, for wearing a dress, for going to transform into one gender, from one gender into another. There's something wrong with you. So for you to be so quick to say something is wrong with somebody just because they don't like something is something wrong with you. That is something wrong with you. You're just as bad as the people that you're protesting against. You're just as bad as the people's opinions that you're fighting against, because you can't respect the fact that somebody does not agree with what you're doing or what the people that you're supporting are doing. And it really irks my nerves. Like, okay, so I was watching Love and Hip Hop one day. I'm not a fan of Love and Hip Hop whatsoever. Let me just go ahead and get that out of the way. But this particular episode was on because on a day that I had nothing to do. I had some plans. They were canceled. And, it's just like in the afternoon, random Love and Hip Hop is on. I don't really watch TV to begin with, so I must have been really bored. So I said, I'll check it out. It's an hour I can kill. And this is Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, by the way. And this particular episode was about Little Scrappy. Well, this particular scene, because there's a lot of other stuff to be going on, is Little Scrappy being confronted by a transgender woman about some comments he made on Instagram. I don't really know the gist. I just know, the stuff that he was saying was pretty fucked up. And it was really, hurtful to people who are transgender. So this transgender woman took it upon herself, who is, I think, friends of a girl that he was dating or, talking to at the time. And, she confronted him. And, they had like this big squabble back and forth. And then he said, you know what? It's like as the conversation is going on, he's like, you know what? For what I said, I was wrong. But you just got to accept the fact that I don't like this. And I don't accept this as just something that I'm just not going to accept. And she actually, kind of accepted that. I was like, at least he was upfront about it, and hopefully, we ain't got to worry about him just kind of just speaking out of terms and, bashing transgender people, right? And if that's the case, I think that was communicated pretty well. It's like, hey, I have a difference in opinion, and I said some shit that was fucked up, and my bad. But at the same time, I'm not going to really fully accept this and take this as a norm and support this. So, but then, later down the line, there was still conversation of Scrappy being this, Scrappy being that, because of the things he said. It wasn't really even about what he said anymore. It was about him saying full out that he's just never really going to accept transgender people. And he was just made out to be such this bad guy. And I said that you really can't say that. Like, him not really agreeing and not really wanting to accept it does not make him a bad person. There are some people that just grew up in a certain household and lifestyle, and it's like they have their own opinions. Like I said, like growing up, it just wasn't normal. This wasn't normal, and like, kids would crack jokes and make fun and all this other stuff. And, you get away from certain ignorances and biases like that, but then there's still certain things. It's just like, you know what? There's no really way how you're going to formulate this and make me think about it, I don't think this is right, and I just can't really support it. And at the end of the day, just like I said, as long as you're not disrespecting nobody, as long as you're not harming anybody, as long as you're not going out your way to make their lives harder or making, gay people, bisexuals, transgenders, all those different lifestyles, those different ways of life, and it's everything. Like, long as you may have your opinion about a certain race, but then if you don't do anything to put harm on them, like, it happens, because then you turn around and you vote for laws, like, and you vote for people like Donald Trump and shit like that, and they're the ones that, they're the ones that are going to put those things in place, then yeah, you are kind of contributing to the problem. But if you keep all that shit on the inside, and you really don't have any outward, behaviors, I mean, really, like, it's like, fuck it, I really don't give a fuck what happens in your head. You don't like black people? Fine. Fuck you. I don't like you either. But if you don't act on it, if you don't disrespect me, if you still treat me like everybody else, you know what? You can hate me behind closed doors. I don't really care. Just as long as you don't do anything to make my life harder or my people's life harder, then it's whatever. You could feel however you want to feel at that point. And there's a certain level of difference in opinion that I just don't think people have. They don't have that same the respect for a difference in opinion that they should. And on the flip side, the problem with, I'm not going to just say this about Weirdo Twitter, just the other people too, like the people that say the bad things about it. People wearing dresses and stuff like that. When you act on it, you're just as bad as the people that, you're just as bad as the people that I was talking about earlier. I don't really have to get into y'all spill, though, because y'all plastered all over the place. Y'all the reason why, it's hard to have a difference in opinion amongst each other, is because, you see somebody with a difference in opinion, whether it's race, whether it's religion, whether it's sexual orientation, whether it's, the fact that you eat at Arby's and I eat at Subway. Just little shit like that. Like, people, people fight over shit like that. Don't even look at me crazy. That's all I'm saying, y'all. I just want y'all to respect each other. Respect the fact that you think the sky is green. I mean, you think the sky is blue. Somebody else gonna think it's green. You gotta respect the fact that, well, okay, maybe that's not it. Yeah, that was kind of a dumb example. Okay. You gotta respect the fact that some people say tomato instead of tomato. You have to respect the fact that some people like green and you like blue. I mean, shit. I posted a picture of me wearing a pink hat one time. People had something to say about that. Is people gonna have something to say? No matter how hard we try, everybody's not going to accept everyone. I think that there should be more focus on respecting each other than accepting each other. I think there should be way more focus on getting rid of laws and, certain barriers that were put in place that makes people's lives harder just because they're a little different, than for every human being on the planet to be on one accord about everything, because it's not going to happen. We will always have a difference in opinion. And that is the 11th episode of the Dangerous Minds podcast. Once again, follow the Instagram page at Dangerous Minds podcast. There's only a few more days left of the contest. Actually, it's 2 days left. The email list contest. Join the email list at www.Vinnie-Dangerous.com, and you'll get information to join up with that. But I've been your boy, Vinnie-Dangerous, and I'll see you the same time next week.